Hyundai Motor Group Chairman Chung Ui-sun meets U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House and announces a $21 billion investment in the U.S. ahead of America's new tariffs next week. Returning to office, Acting President Han Duck-soo revisits the need to tackle the trade war, for which he vows to take the matter into his own hands and lead a task force. Wildfires continue to batter the southeastern part of the country, with strong winds and dry weather making the firefighting efforts even more difficult. It's March 25th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. Hyundai Motor has pledged an investment of $21 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. This comes ahead of America's new tariffs that are set to go into effect next week. Lee Seung-jae has the details.
Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chairman Chung Ui-sun met with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House on Monday. There, Chung announced that South Korea's largest automaker will be investing $21 billion in the United States through 2028.
So Hyundai Motor entered the U.S. 1986. Since then, we have invested over $20 billion and now support more than 570,000 American jobs across all 50 states. Today, I'm pleased to announce an additional $21 billion in a new investment over the next 4 years, our largest U.S. invest ever.
The investment includes $8.6 billion for the automotive sector, $6.1 billion for the steel industry, components, parts, and logistics, and $6.3 billion for future industry sectors and energy. Chung also announced that the company will open a new $8 billion automotive plant in Georgia later this week that will allow its U.S. car production to exceed 1 million units per year. According to the U.S. president, the $21 billion investment will give Hyundai Motor Group a pass from his tariff policies.
Hyundai will be producing steel in America and making its cars in America, and as a result, they'll not have to pay any tariffs. You know, there are no tariffs if you make your product in America.
Trump also said on Monday that his administration will announce tariffs on automobiles over the next few days. His remarks have raised speculation that new tariffs on cars could come before he announces his reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. Trump also emphasized that Hyundai's massive investment is clear evidence that his tariff policy is effective. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Acting President Han Duck-soo has reaffirmed the government's priority on protecting national interests amid a global trade war. It's in line with this that he vows to lead a task force and tackle the issue at a higher level. Kim Do-yeon has this report.
In his first cabinet meeting since returning from suspension, Acting President and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Tuesday acknowledged the challenges facing the nation, from a global trade war sparked by U.S. tariffs to growing pressures on small business owners and the cost of living. He emphasized the need for an all-out effort from everyone, as well as cooperation with the National Assembly amid the fierce standoff between the main rival parties.
Fellow cabinet members, our calling at this moment is to protect the safety of our people, safeguard our national interests amid the ongoing trade war, and swiftly devise solutions to urgent national issues through cooperation with the National Assembly.
He also pledged to leverage his experience, of which he has more than 50 years in public service related to trade and foreign affairs, to protect Korea's interests, especially in the face of what he called a, quote, tariff storm started from the U.S. He called on the members of the cabinet to do the same and to make sure that the citizens can feel the efforts made by the government.
I ask each cabinet member to exercise full authority and responsibility in implementing their respective policies in a timely manner. I also urge you to communicate actively with the public, providing clear and transparent explanations throughout the process and on the outcomes.
This comes as for nearly the past 3 months, South Korea had both its president and prime minister suspended, with the Deputy Prime Minister for Finance in control of the government. With the Prime Minister's comeback as the acting president, the South Korean government can be seen as more stabilized, and a conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump could take place. In fact, he held a meeting that followed the cabinet meeting with ministers related to trade, as his office says that Han was taking on the U.S.-related matters himself. There, the acting president announced a restructuring of the existing external economic issues meeting, which had been chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister for Finance, into the Economic Security Strategy Task Force, which he will personally lead. According to the acting president's office, the move aims to strengthen the government's ability to respond to growing external uncertainties, including the U.S. administration's tariff policies, and to enhance coordination between trade and security issues. 김도현, Arirang News.
The White House has confirmed its commitment to working with South Korea's acting president and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. The Prime Minister's office here shared a statement on Tuesday that included the first remarks made by the Trump administration on Han's return to office. It said that the U.S. is committed to working with Han and the South Korean government, further expressing confidence in the democratic resilience of South Korea and its people. South Korea has outlined its priorities for next year's budget, emphasizing industrial and trade competitiveness in response to U.S. trade barriers. The Ministry of Economy and Finance unveiled on Tuesday its 2026 spending guidelines, projecting a 4% increase to a little over 704 trillion Korean won, just under $480 billion US. Other key priorities include expanding investments in AI and semiconductors, implementing physical reforms, and supporting recovery in struggling sectors like construction. Firefighters are working around the clock to tame the rampant flames across Korea's southeastern area, fueled by high winds and dry conditions. Choi Soo-hyung has the latest.
The large wildfires in the southeastern region of South Korea are still not under control. The damage is most severe in Uiseong-gun County, Gyeongsang-buk-do Province. The entire region has been affected by the wildfires since Saturday. By Tuesday, more than 30 villages were covered in smoke and over 1,500 people had been displaced. More than 150 buildings, including houses, factories and warehouses, have been destroyed. An area of more than 126 square kilometers, roughly the size of 17,600 football fields, has been directly or indirectly affected. This marks the third biggest wildfire in the country's history. Due to strong winds and dry weather, 60% of the fire Uiseong-gun has been contained so far. The Korea Forest Service has stated that the dense smoke is making firefighting efforts more difficult. A firefighter in his 40s was transported to hospital on Monday, marking the first hospitalization of emergency services personnel during the wildfire containment efforts in the region. Currently, the wildfire has spread to nearby Andong city and over 1,000 residents in the surrounding areas have been evacuated. There are wildfires in multiple areas including Uiseong, Sancheong-gun County in Gyeongsang-namdo Province and Ulju-gun County in Ulsan City. Over 87 square kilometers of forest, which is over 12,000 football fields, have been burned. On Tuesday, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety announced that in total there have been 15 casualties, including 4 deaths. Including Uiseong-gun and Andong City, more than 4,200 people have been evacuated. The country's acting president and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has called for all hands on deck.
The government has declared Sancheong and 3 other regions as special disaster areas, promising full national support for recovery. All firefighting helicopters and ground personnel will be mobilized for rapid containment of the wildfires.
Authorities have deployed 110 helicopters and over 6,700 personnel. The wildfire in Sancheong-gun is 80% contained and in Ulju over 98% contained. The The Korea Meteorological Administration has reported that strong winds will continue in southeastern areas, including Uiseong-gun, while rain is forecast nationwide on Thursday. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
A sinkhole that opened up here in Seoul on Monday killed one person, and authorities now seek the cause of the incident. Park Go-nu reports.
A motorcyclist who had been trapped in a large sinkhole in Seoul was found dead at around 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday. The 30-year-old was identified after around 17 hours of rescue efforts for when the approximately 20-meter wide and deep sinkhole appeared on Monday evening. An official explained that the search operations were made more difficult due to thousands of tons of water and soil filling the sinkhole.
Accumulated soil and water raised the water level, and construction equipment got tangled up, making it impossible to enter the area right away.
The victim was discovered several hours after his mobile phone and motorbike were found underground earlier that morning. A car driver who passed over the area of road just before the collapse was injured and transported to hospital. The sinkhole appeared in the middle of a road in Myeongil-dong of Gangdong-gu District, Eastern Seoul at around 6:30 p.m. on Monday, affecting 4 lanes of a 6-lane road. Due to concerns of further collapses, 4 nearby schools were temporarily closed on Tuesday. Fire authorities point out a possible link to the nearby subway Line 9 extension project and a burst underground pipeline as potential causes of the incident. Seoul officials plan to conduct a thorough investigation to find out the actual cause with experts and related organizations. An emergency safety measure meeting was also held by Seoul Mayor Oh Se-eun Tuesday morning to discuss follow-up measures. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
Seoul has strongly condemned Japan's approval of high school textbooks that continue to make unfounded claims over the South Korean islands of Dokdo. In a statement released on Tuesday, Seoul's foreign ministry called on Japan to correct these inaccuracies and uphold its commitment to show sincere remorse over past wartime atrocities. Japan's Ministry of Education has reportedly approved high school textbooks for use starting in 2026. These textbooks are reported to continue pushing Japan's false narrative over South Korea's Dokdo. Second Vice Foreign Minister Kang In-sun met with UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed in New York on Monday on the margins of a UN Security Council meeting. Their talks covered the importance of multilateral cooperation to address security concerns, including North Korea's military collaboration with Russia. Separately, Kang also sat down with officials from the UN Development Program to propose more meaningful joint projects as Korea seeks to further expand its global contributions. Over in the Middle East, Israel looks to be expanding its ground operations across the Gaza Strip. Making matters worse, numbers of international UN staff there will be reduced following the death of a UN staff member at a time when there is a growing need for humanitarian help. Cha Yun-kyung has more.
Gaza's health authorities said on Monday that at least 730 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the Israeli military resumed airstrikes across the enclave last week, ending a 2-month truce. Israeli troops have been attacking the northern Gaza border town of Beit Hanun and the southern city of Rafah, and also have destroyed over 100 pickup trucks belonging to Hamas. The health ministry of Gaza said that Palestinian death toll in the enclave has passed 50,000 from the 17-month war. Wall Street Journal reported that Israel's military seems to expand its ground operations across the Gaza Strip to occupy its security zone in Gaza. Meanwhile, the United Nations announced on Monday that it is reducing its international staff numbers in Gaza due to the risks to its staff. The spokesman said about 30% of the international staff in Gaza were being withdrawn.
The strikes hitting a UN compound in Deir al-Balah on March 19th were caused by an Israeli tank shell.
Israel denied that it was responsible for the strike. Meanwhile, the air raid alarm was sounded in Tel Aviv on Monday as a missile was launched at Israel by Yemen's Houthi rebels. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
In Saudi Arabia, U.S. and Russian officials held a marathon negotiation over a partial ceasefire in Ukraine. Even during the talks, Russia continued attacking Ukraine. Park Jun-han has the latest.
The meeting in Saudi Arabia between U.S. and Russian officials on Monday ended after over 12 hours with a draft joint statement. An official joint statement is expected to be released on Tuesday, which a White House source said would be a positive one. Among other issues, the White House said the initial aim of the Saudi talks was to secure a maritime truce in the Black Sea, as it was President Trump's efforts to end the three-year-old war. Security advisor Mike Waltz also mentioned discussions for a so-called line of control between Ukraine and Russia, which he described as verification measures, peacekeeping, freezing the lines where they are. The talks aimed at establishing a partial ceasefire in Ukraine were held behind closed doors in Riyadh and focused on implementing a limited 30-day pause in attacks. While all parties acknowledged the importance of reducing hostilities, disagreements emerged, particularly about which targets should not be attacked. The White House referred more broadly to energy and infrastructure, while Russia was more narrow in its reference to energy infrastructure. Ukraine wanted to also see other infrastructure like railways and ports protected. Discussions also touched on halting Black Sea attacks to safeguard commercial shipping routes. Meanwhile, on Monday, even as the meeting for a peace deal was underway in Saudi Arabia, Russian forces launched a missile strike in the Sumy region of northeastern Ukraine, which injured almost 90 people, including 17 children. Ukraine's foreign minister criticized Moscow for making hollow statements of peace despite brutal strikes on Ukrainian cities, adding that Russia must stop bombing civilians. According to Ukraine's national broadcaster Sosline, Ukrainian and U.S. delegations will meet on Tuesday for talks. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
K-pop girl group NewJeans, or NJZ, has filed an objection to a court ruling that bans the group from pursuing independent activities under the name NJZ. The group's 5 members submitted the objection last Friday after the court granted an injunction requested by the group's agency Adore. The group had accused Adore of breaching its exclusive contract last November and began independent activities as NJZ. However, those activities are now on hold as the court has ruled in favor of Adore. In other story, happiness is the shared theme of 2 separate exhibitions that seek to ensure you usher in this year's spring with a smile. Lee Yoon-jin has more.
Large, colorful donuts collectively show off their individuality. It took ceramic artist Kim Jae-yong 4 years to bake, grind, color, and add sparkle to these donuts that fill the wall of this exhibition. In the center of the exhibition hall, there is a study of donuts. Inspired by the painting Chekkado, which depicts a scholar's books and belongings of the Joseon dynasty, the artist put donuts of different sizes and colors together on a shelf, portraying people exhausted from daily life, leaning on each other. But of all things, why such sweet, delightful donuts?
Why not chase the dream? Why do we eat something sweet just because we crave it? It's not healthy. Thinking of this metaphor, the donut concept was born.
The kinds of donuts vary. There are tall trophy-like chrome donuts, and the donut at the entrance that depicts our busy lives running restlessly.
I wanted to tell myself and society that just running mindlessly may lead to losing more.
This deliciously healing exhibition, Run Donut Run, at Hakkoje Gallery is free to visit and will run until April 5th. Another happy exhibition. There's a hat hidden on the outer walls of buildings in this section, and sometimes it's the keys of a piano. These are photographic works by Spanish happygraphers Anna and Daniel. They took a creative and imaginative approach to capturing moments of happiness. For a single cut, they've traveled long, harsh roads, climbed sand mountains, and waited endlessly for sunrises and sunsets.
They will paint walls or cut paper to make shapes and become the prop to the artwork or to the natural scenery. They plan it meticulously.
The Happy Grapher duo use props and interplay with the human body to convey images of joy and positivity. The interactive photo exhibition at the Hangaram Art Museum, located in the Seoul Arts Center, will run until the end of the month. 이은진, Arirang News.
The atmosphere is drying up. While the dry weather warnings remain in eastern regions, there is also a severe wildfire crisis warning level in the southern areas. Please take extra precautions. With gusty winds blowing, it is very important not to cause any fires. The concentration of ultrafine dust stayed at bad levels all over the country today. It will get a bit better in some places tomorrow, but the Seoul metropolitan area, the Chungcheongdo provinces, Busan and Ulsan will stay at bad levels. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 6 degrees Celsius, Busan at 11 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 21 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, 25 degrees in Daejeon and Gwangju. On Wednesday, it will start to rain from the south and spread across the country on Thursday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.